right. Welcome to the first, well, it's been a while. It's not the first, but first in a long time live recording of the K Stream podcast. I am Jeff Kozlowski. Thank you to those that give this a listen, or if you're tuning in live or watching the replay, thank you so much for doing so. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've done a live stream, but over the last year, just had a ton going on. Big out of state move, welcomed another child. A lot of big changes. But so it's been hard to do a live stream lately, but I think I got the itch, and here I am again, back at least on LinkedIn and YouTube. Something weird happened with my K-Stream Facebook page. I don't really know what's going on, but randomly, not too long ago, I got a notice saying something I posted went against their terms of service, which I don't post anything out of the ordinary there. It's all pretty much the same that I post on other channels. And I tried to go back and see what that was, and sure enough, everything was my I can't even get to my page. So I don't know what's going on there. Working on it, but all that to say, I'm live on LinkedIn and YouTube, and I'll be trying that for the foreseeable future. So anyway, this episode is focused on what to do when you're not feeling creative. And really, this is more about, when you're not feeling motivated to do the big creative work that you need to get done. What little things can you do to move the needle, still be creative and feel creative, but something you can do that's will get the job done for you in the moment, but isn't necessarily like that big video you need to edit, or you don't feel like being on camera that day, or you just don't feel like writing that long blog article you have to write. What are some other things you can do in the creative space to get the creative juices flowing, even if it's moving the needle just a little bit for your business, for yourself, for your creative passion? So this idea stemmed from a recent conversation that I had for the podcast with Ken the Content Coach. If you're not familiar with Ken, check him out at kenthecontentcoach.com. He does some great things on YouTube and TikTok. Actually, follow him on TikTok. He's a great follow. He's out there just trying to help other creators, inspire them to do creative work, and he does tech reviews, that kind of thing. Lots of live streams on YouTube. Go check him out. But really, so during our conversation on the podcast a couple episodes ago, I talked to Ken because I noticed he had posted on his own blog on his website an article about things you can do, or something you can do when you're not feeling creative. And actually, it was more about, his was on a little more serious note, like when you're not feeling creative and you're feeling burnt out, take a break. And I can't stress that enough, that if your creative work is affecting your mental health in some capacity and you're feeling burned out, take that break and come back to it another time. This episode, is more focused on, like I said, just some of the little things you can do to move the needle when you don't feel like doing the big creative work. But all that to say, in this clip I'm about to show you kind of where the conversation stemmed from, Ken hits on that a little bit because that's what he talked about on his website, but he also hits in a minute on the first example of something you can do, especially if you're a video creator, to get those creative juices flowing. So from that conversation, I thought, maybe this is a good conversation to have. So I reached out to a few former colleagues, a couple connections I made through the podcast as well, to just ask people, what do you guys do when you're not really feeling like doing the big creative work? What other things do you do to fulfill your creative passion in those moments? So let me show you this first clip with Ken, just to kind of tee up the rest of this episode. Here we go.
Yeah, we all hit those moments where we just, we get tired, or we have just mental blocks where we can't think about how we want to create or what we want to create. Sometimes it's burnout. Sometimes it's just, maybe being bored with what you're doing right now, but not sure what to do to change things up. Sometimes it's just setting too many expectations. For me,
Mm,
we talked a little bit before we started the show here that I do have a podcast out there, but I mean, don't nobody go look at it because it's not good. It's not something that I've put enough time into trying to build. When I first started, and I'm talking back when it was Bluegrass Bearded, I had that. I had 2 live streams a week then. I wanted to do a podcast also, and I really just, um, what's the word I'm looking for? I overextended
mm,
myself in what I had time to create. So, YouTube is always going to be my main focus. So anything that would pull me away from that and possibly degrade what I'm trying to build there, um, is I've learned this is something that I have to pull back on. You have to set, you know, proper expectations. I can't do YouTube and a podcast and graphics and things like that. So I actually just stopped doing graphics because it
mm,
was a time killer for me. Um, so, but when you're in those moments when you feel that pull, like I just don't feel it today, I don't feel like creating. It's important first to recognize why. Because are you burned out? Do you need a break? Because if you are, take a break. If that's a day, if that's 2 days, if that's a week, don't be afraid to take breaks, because going forward, all that's going to happen is that you're just going to continue to feel burned out, and it's just going to show. If it's just a bad day, because we all have bad days also, there's literally moments where I have just had a bad day and it's time to film and I just don't feel like it. And a lot of times in those moments when I've still followed through because I have to, some of those turned out to be the best videos they were. I mean, once you hit
mm.
record on that camera, it's like, okay, game on. Um, you may have to like edit out the first couple minutes while you're getting warmed up, but usually they turn out pretty good. So definitely recognize why you're feeling the way you feel. If you need a break, take it. If not, try to push through it and do your content, because if you love it, it's still going to work out.
All right. Want to just recap there. Love what Ken says around setting proper expectations, especially if this is supposed to be, like a fun creative outlet or creative project you're working on. Again, obviously, if you need a break, take it. That can only benefit you in the long run. Step away, do other things. We'll come back to that a little later, but as I mentioned at the top, I wanted to share that clip because it kind of teed up the conversation, this episode well, and was what gave me the inspiration to ask others for what they do when they don't feel like doing the big creative work. And I see Dr. Elo, thank you for tuning in on LinkedIn. Dr. Elo says, any type of art, thumbnails, overlays he works on, goes back and replies to comments. Yes, I think you and Ken are on the same page as far as this next clip, because you'll see as Ken is a video creator himself. He does give an example of something he does when he's not feeling like doing the big creative work, and I'll play that now.
Yeah, I tell you, one thing that I really like to do, if there is a day where I just don't have it in me, like that day I just cannot film because whatever, I've had such a bad day, I know it won't come across right or whatever. If there's ever a day when I really don't feel like it, I'll try to create in another way that's not necessarily on
Mm-hmm.
camera, right? One thing that I love to do on days when I'm just like, I just can't film today, is go back through my channel and find like my worst performing video and create a new thumbnail for it,
Mm.
because I'm still creating. I'm not on camera. It's just me sitting down here with, my graphic stuff. Create a new thumbnail, see if I can help that video do better. Change the tags up, research.
Yes.
That's one way to do it. I mean, do something that's out of the public eye. That's just you. A lot of times, I find if I try to create something else, it'll help. And sometimes even that. Sometimes I just need to go upstairs and cry to my wife for a minute, and then hang out with her.
There you go. All right. Thanks so much, Ken, the content coach, again for providing that tip. So Ken creates in another way. He goes back through his YouTube channel and updates older videos, looks at what didn't perform well, thinks about how he can improve them. How can he update the titles? How can he tag them differently? How can he update the descriptions? Any new title cards that you can add? Could you add subtitles so do a little YouTube audit for your channel and see what can be updated. Maybe also look at your older high performing videos and then head to a site like Google Trends, maybe do a search around those topics, see if there's anything else worth creating another video around. I think all of that is a win there. By the way, if you didn't notice, Ken has a pretty awesome beard. And so, I had to ask about that on our show. For a long time, he had a YouTube channel dedicated to, I think it was called Bluegrass Bearded, and, beard product reviews, how-tos, like taking care of your beard. And so if you're looking for any sort of help in that world, Ken's the guy, and he knows plenty of people to make you to help the fellas grow a better beard. And I had to ask him about that on the show, and I got some good pointers. He knows all about it. But moving on, that is not our focus for today. The next I reached out to an old colleague of mine. We worked at a creative agency together a couple years back. Her name's Erica Sikora. She is the senior content strategist and account supervisor at Methods of Mastery in Washington, D.C., an agency based in the D.C. area. Wonderful copywriter, content creator, especially in the social media space. So I wanted to get it from, get a tip from a writer's perspective as well. And I have a graphic here, and Erica sent me this. She says, usually if I'm really stuck on a creative project, I'll do word association, where I take the subject and write down any related words or phrases and see if something there jumps out. Checking social media to see what kinds of conversations are already being had or need to be had around the subject also can turn up some content ideas. So love that. Word association could be, kind of a fun activity. You can also do, if you have colleagues or coworkers on a similar project, I could see that being kind of a fun, meeting or kind of brainstorming session where you do some word association, write down any related words or phrases, see if something jumps out. And social listening, it's kind of go out to social media, do some searching there. If you have a social listening tool, that's a wonderful thing to have, to just kind of see what conversations are happening around a given topic, see what questions are being asked out there, and see how you can help those people. And maybe that'll give you a new video idea or blog idea, something like that. So thank you so much, Erica, for sending that in. Next clip I have is from a gentleman by the name of Christoph Trapp. He is director of content strategy at VoxPopMe, which helps companies get better customer insights through video research and analytics. He's also written a few books on content marketing. He hosts a podcast called The Business Storytelling Show. Well over 400 episodes in. The guy is a content marketing machine. He's been on the K-Stream podcast a few times. I always learn a ton talking with Christoph. Like I said, it's just knows everything and anything when it comes to the content marketing space. And so I asked him, the same question. What do you do, Christoph, when you just don't feel like doing the big creative work? And here is one of Christoph's. He turned this into a little series called Christoph's Quick Take. So here it is. Here's what Christoph has to say.
Hey, everyone. Christoph Trapp here. Christoph's Content Corner. Quick take on content strategy. So this was inspired by Jeff Kozlowski, and he asked me about how can you create content in an easy way. And here's an easy that I do many, many days. And I'm saying easy because nothing is ever easy. Let me just put it this way. This is a quick take, supposed to take a couple minutes to record. In many days, it does. But today, I recorded once, microphone didn't work, even though it sounded great. Recorded it twice, caught some stuff in my teeth. Duh. This is the third time. So, already taken 3 times as long as it should take. So just keep that in mind. Everything might take longer than you expect, but there are some easy ways to create new content, to update content. And here's what I do. I go to my content on christophtrapp.com, and I see what older articles are performing well, and I update them with current information. I push them back to the top of the queue to let everybody know it is new content, it's updated, it's current to the best of my knowledge, and then I share it again in my newsletter, social, that kind of thing. I've also now have had my podcast, a business storytelling show, for a couple years. So what I do is I go through that archive as well and find content that I can add into that article. So maybe it's just an embed of the podcast, or maybe there's a quote I can use, something like that. So I'm trying to really maximize all of the content creation over the last few years. And sometimes I delete stuff. So that counts too. If you're deleting something that's just totally outdated, nobody reads it anyways, that's helpful. Until next time.
All right. Thank you so much, Christoph. If you want to check out Christoph's work, first, if you want to check out his podcast, he is at the, like I said earlier, the Business Storytelling Show. Check it out. Also, check out ChristopHTrap.com for all of his articles and podcast episodes, everything Christoph does. So liked what he had to say there. Obviously, the tip on everything might take longer than you might expect. Just I guess a content creator tip to remember in any creative space. It always will likely take longer than you anticipate. But he goes through his blog at ChristopHTrap.com, looks at older articles that have performed well or still are performing well, updates them with maybe new relevant information. Maybe there's a podcast episode he can embed in that article, or a new video he did that he can embed. Maybe it's just an audiogram or an audio clip that he can add in, or update the links, new quotes. And then he republishes them, which pushes them to the top, updates the date so it's the latest publishing date, and puts it back on the top of his blog, gives him then an excuse to reshare it on his social channels. It sends out a newsletter when he posts a blog. So lot of great ways there to create in small ways, but still really kind of help your creative business. The last quote here comes from a former colleague of mine as well. His name is Wallen Augustin. He's a senior creative strategist at Artemis Ward. That's also based in the DC area, creative agency. Wallen also has his own production business, Wallen Digital. He is, video content creator extraordinaire, great photographer. Has done a lot of work in the DC area, helping small businesses. He did a lot of great stuff through the COVID-19 pandemic, helping small businesses, when they might have been struggling. Wallen was there kind of helping them do some more video work, help them with their marketing, either for a lesser rate or for free, trying to help those small businesses in his area. So Wallen's a good dude. So I asked Wallen, what he does when he just can't do the big creative work. And Wallen says, one of the biggest things for me when I'm not feeling creative is looking for inspiration elsewhere. I don't mean scrolling through social media or listening to other podcasts. I like to listen to music, watch a movie, or explore other creative passions like filmmaking and photography. So he's talking about, when it comes to his full-time role as a senior creative strategist, he looks to his side creative passions, which are filmmaking and photography. I also end up learning something new or getting a jolt of inspiration or ideas in ways that aren't typical to the medium I'm feeling stuck in. So, listening to music is a big one for me too, or it's a nice way to kind of zone out. I've also started lately trying to get into like breathing work, call it meditation, but kind of like breathing practice that kind of helps me just be silent for maybe 5 minutes. And I haven't gotten into where I can do it daily yet, but I'm trying to get there. But it does, just kind of helps you reset, get rid of the noise. And sometimes in those sessions, something pops into your mind that maybe you wouldn't have allowed earlier in the day when things were so hectic. So something to think about there. And as we get to the end of this show, I hope these tips have been helpful for you. If you're struggling and don't feel like editing that next big video project or writing that 4,000 word blog article. Here are some little things you can do to help move that needle for yourself, for your creative passion, for your business. I did want to, Wallen did send me one more quote that kind of ties this back to the beginning. And I know I said, this episode isn't necessarily about if your creative work is causing you to feel burnout. That's a whole nother situation and story. And clearly for plenty of info to untap maybe for another show. But Wallen did say, most importantly, sometimes I just don't burden myself with forcing creativity. If I'm not feeling it, I'll just drop everything and try another day when I'm up for it. Creativity should be a fun process that brings out the best of us, and there is nothing worse than forcing yourself to be creative. It's completely normal to not feel creative for however long it may take you. Could be 1 hour, could be 1 year. Take the time you need. Amen. Thank you, Wallen, for that last bit of wisdom there. And I think, all the other folks I talked to today or had on the show today would agree. Just going to go through one more time. I saw Dr. Elo was tuning in. Thank you again for watching. Just want to check the comments on some of the other on YouTube and LinkedIn here to just make sure I'm not missing anything. All right. Looks like we're good. Well, that's really all I had. As we wrap up today, I do just want to, put in a little self-plug. If you're interested in some of the other work I do, head to jeffkozlowski.com. That's the URL right there, just my name, jeffkozlowski.com. It's where, all my podcast stuff is housed. It's where I write my blogs, where you can contact me, sign up for a newsletter, all that good stuff. Also, if you're on Instagram, give me a look at K-Stream Show. I'm also on TikTok. Trying TikTok, trying to be funny every so often. Whether it's successful, I'll leave that up to you to decide. So thank you all that tuned in live. Thank you so much if you've listened to the podcast or watched this replay. Much appreciated. Until next time, be safe, be well, and take care, folks. Thanks a lot.